Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
We are officially live. Okay. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for coming.
Here
We
is
are
YouTube.
we are going to keep this a very respectful chat. To all the mods, any negativity, any bad comments, immediately give them the boot. There's no BS in here. If there's anything that you feel like you want to address to me, my email is in my description and you could contact me privately. Other than that, we are here to talk about MK Ultra, mind control, and other government experiments and projects that's been going on. So how are you, Brittany?
I am good. Can I just say you look so beautiful tonight? You
Thank
look really pretty.
I got my AC/DC shirt on, so I'm ready to
Yeah,
rock.
girl.
Oh my
You
God.
can't go wrong with that at all. I'm so glad you're back. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for being here with me. And thank you for everyone in the chat. And thank you for everyone for keeping it respectful. Hello to everybody. I see everyone. So yeah, I thought you ditched me, Brittany. I'm not
No,
gonna lie,
girl.
I panicked. I panicked and I was like, she's not answering me. I had to do all this prep work, which I didn't mind, but I was like, I was supposed to go live yesterday and I pushed it off till today. And I'm just so happy that, like, yeah, you could comment. I was trying to think, how can I contact you other than your number? And we could have commented to each other. So,
No, actually, it couldn't happen at a worse time because we were supposed to go live last night.
yep.
And yesterday, my son obliterated my phone, completely obliterated it. So I tried to have the number switched to an alternate phone that I have. It's a long story. It's a different service. They wouldn't do it. So I have to get a new one
Oh, it's
tomorrow.
okay. No explanation needed.
6-year-old. That's all I
Oh,
need to say.
trust me, I get it. My daughter just is 8, and I've been through so many cell phones. It's like 2 of them went in the toilet. So yeah.
Oh my God, me too. 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I was thinking, I was like, how can I message this girl? Like, I've heard of all these stories of people getting these fake, what do you get? Like these
Well,
text apps
you don't
online and
have
stuff.
to use it like for fake purposes. You could get an app, and with the app, it's a free text number, and you can choose the area code and stuff, and you don't have to use it to be a troll. You could actually use it. Honestly, I used to use it for when a guy would ask for my number and I didn't want to give the guy a number, but I was in a few situations where they would try to call me or text me on the spot and it didn't go to my number. So I got that as an alt number that I could give them. And if it called my phone, I would be able to answer, but it wasn't my actual number. Okay.
I'll keep that in mind for next time, for sure.
Mm-hmm. As long as you have Wi-Fi, it works. It's not like you don't need, what's it called? Like service or anything with it.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I think I'm just really slow because I looked for those and it was just a disaster. Like every app that I would find would require you to have a working phone number. And I don't have a working phone number because they turned it off because I tried to switch phones or whatever. It was a disaster and I'll be okay tomorrow.
I will wait patiently for your return. Okay. So there were a few different government projects that me and Brittany wanted to discuss. Luckily, I found Brittany and we just so happened to love all of the strange, and I don't even like to say conspiracies because a lot of them are not conspiracies. They actually occurred, but all the strange and unusual stuff that's going on in this earth. And she's one of the few people that I connect with on that level. So we were struggling to figure out, well, geez, Project MK Ultra, it's so big in itself, to dedicate one live to it wouldn't even do it justice. But so I wrote down a few and took notes on it, and I figured we would just wing it and see where it goes from there. How do you feel about that, Britt?
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, so I'm just I don't know if everyone is familiar with MK Ultra. Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen just so you could see something to look at while we're talking. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys a little rundown on what Project MK Ultra is. So in 1953, a program of experiments were conducted on human subjects that were designed and undertaken by the US CIA, some of which were illegal. Experiments on humans were intended to develop procedures and identify drugs such as LSD to be used in interrogations in order to weaken the individual and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. So what they were doing is they were administering LSD. Yes, Roseling, between 1953 and actually it finally ended in 1973, but the majority of it did occur between 1953 and 1964. And so they were trying to figure out how that they could, against the enemy, get the enemy to confess the plans and intended attacks and things like that. So they decided, LSD, they didn't know much about it during that time. They just know that you would loosen up and you would it's kind of like a truth serum. So they decided to do experiments on them. Some were willing, majority of them were unwilling participants. They didn't even have knowledge of being drugged. So it was used on United States and Canadian citizens as its unwitting test subjects, which led to controversy regarding its legitimacy. MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects, mental states, and brain functions. Techniques included the administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs, especially LSD, and other chemicals, electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, and verbal sexual abuse, in addition to other forms of torture. In the LSD experiments, the CIA wanted to know if they could make Soviet spies defect against their will and whether the Soviets could do the same to the CIA's own operatives. So not only were they wanted to know if they could use LSD on the enemy, they wanted to also know, could the enemy use LSD on their own on their own operatives. So they administered LSD to mental patients, prisoners, drug addicts, and sex workers. One agency officer put it that they experimented on people who could not fight back. They gave LSD to CIA employees, military personnel, doctors, and other government agents and members of the general public to study their reactions. LSD and drugs were administered without the subject's knowledge or informed consent. The aim of this was to find drugs which would out deep confessions or wipe a subject's mind clean and program them as robots agents. So not only were they trying to find something that give us that information, like who are you working for? What's the plan? Where's the attack going to happen? They also were trying to figure out, well, is there a possibility or an option where we could just completely wipe these people's brains clean and program them to do what we want, as in a robot, which is terrifying.
Can I just say one thing too?
Go for it.
Whitey Bulger, the mob boss, Whitey Bulger, he was actually a subject, and he claimed that he was in the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary when they used LSD on him, and he actually attributed his later crimes and his violent tendencies to the LSD experiments that was taking place on him with like 6 other subjects.
Mm-hmm. And there's actually a really interesting show on Netflix. When I get to someone's there's an example of something that happened to this guy, and there's an amazing. It's not a documentary because they have actual clips of during the time of when it happened, but they also do reenactments throughout it. It's a really, I don't know what they call it, like maybe a mockumentary or something, but it's a really good watch. Um, so there was something called Operation Midnight Climax, and the CIA set up several brothels within agency safe houses to obtain a selection of men who would be too embarrassed to talk about the events. The men were dosed with LSD, the brothels were equipped with one-way mirrors, and the sessions were filmed for later viewing and study. So they would dose these guys, okay? And they would choose guys that were too embarrassed to ever come forward and tell, like share their experiences. And they would take their safe houses and legit put on one-way mirrors. So in a bedroom where these guys would be having sex, the other guys were on the opposite side watching in and filming to break it down later and study. They wanted to basically see if these guys were in a setting, okay, and these were their own CIA operatives, with all of the intelligence and all of the knowledge that they have, if they're in a setting where they are given LSD and they were just having sex with this prostitute, what information would they willingly be giving? So they were given the LSD without their knowledge. They were interrogated under bright lights with doctors in the background taking notes. They told the subjects they would extend their trips if they refused to reveal their secrets. So basically, like, they didn't want them to reveal their information, but they wanted to push them to the point to see at what point would they. And they basically said, if you don't reveal the information, we're going to keep dosing you with this trip. And it's one thing if you take LSD willingly, and because it's a hardcore drug and it really does screw a lot with your mind. Anyone who's taken LSD will know that. But if you aren't aware that you've been dosed with LSD, you will legitimately think you're going crazy. Anything to say, Brittany?
Yeah, I was just thinking the Unabomber as well. The Unabomber was a test subject at Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
So there's speculation that because of that, the experiments on him, that is why he ended up committing the crimes that he committed.
That is correct.
So.
Fun facts. Let's see. They were nervous that CIA employees, U.S. military personnel, agents were working on the other side during the Cold War. So they wanted to find out whatever information they could. And that's why they said, if you don't reveal this information, we're just going to keep dosing you for longer and longer periods of time. Heroin addicts were bribed into taking LSD with offers of more heroin. So when they couldn't find willing subjects, they would basically take heroin addicts or drug addicts off the street and say, hey, if you allow us to give you this LSD and monitor your reactions and observe, we'll give you more heroin. And anyone knows an addict usually doesn't have the money, they'll do about anything to get their fix. And that's how this is our own government, okay, picking up addicts off the street, bribing them with their drug of choice by taking more drugs. Series of experiments were initiated where LSD was given to people in a normal setting without warning. Eventually, outsiders were drugged with no explanation whatsoever, and surprise acid trips became an occupational hazard among CIA operatives. For an example, Frank Olson, and this is what I meant when I referred back to a Netflix documentary that's extremely interesting. I'll get the name up before you guys and I'll post it in the chat. He was an Army chemist who had never taken LSD before in his life. And he was covertly dosed by his CIA supervisor. And 9 days, he plunged to his death from the window of a 13th story New York City hotel room. Olson had approached his superiors sometime earlier, doubting the morality of this project, and asked to resign from the CIA. So Frank Olson knew what the CIA was doing. He never thought he would be a subject, but he had just gone to them prior, doubting, the validity of this experiment and saying he wants to resign from the CIA altogether. They decided to then drug him without his knowing or consent, his own supervisor, and he plunged to death from a 13th story hotel room. That's the official story. His family has gone to court many times because they do not believe he plunged to his death versus allegedly may have been pushed. Or there is an operative who received a dose in his morning coffee, became psychotic, and ran across Washington, seeing a monster in every car passing him. In one case, 7 volunteers in Kentucky were given LSD for 77 consecutive days. And just to give you guys an idea, if you've taken LSD, aka acid, 3 times in your life, you are considered psychotic. Officially. These volunteers were given LSD for 77 consecutive days. Could you imagine?
They were never right after that. There's no way.
No, because, and we've spoken about this on another live, where your brain is only really like 10% active at all times. But when you take a psychoactive drug like that, it is opening parts of your brain and activating parts of your brain that is not normally active. And that's where the question always comes in. Well, am I hallucinating when I'm on this drug? Or am I really tapping into another dimension that is currently happening around me that I'm not normally accessing?
Yeah. Just something to add to that. Like my mom, she went to school with a girl who experimented with LSD, her and a group of their friends. And the one thing that's kept me from ever trying hard drugs at all was my mom said that this girl tried it in a mental facility. It was like she went on a trip and she never came back. And
that's what happened. Like, I'll be honest, I've taken LSD 3 or 4 times. So technically, I'm psychotic, but I had a friend who had taken LSD and he was in such a bad trip that he literally was seeing bugs underneath his skin and crawling, and he scratched himself all the way down to his flesh, and he got taken to the hospital, strapped down. And he says, all I remember is basically it was an out-of-body experience where I was not on the table. I was floating above my body on the table, and he has not been right since.
See, See, I'll just shamelessly admit that I'm a hypochondriac. Like, I can't even go look on Google if I have a cough because I'll freak out. So luckily, I never tried anything like that. But
it's a very, listen, I wouldn't suggest anyone to take drugs. But LSD is, yes, LSD and acid are the same, Shelly Love. But it's such, I'll put it this way, it was such an experience that my entire my perspective and outlook of my life changed from that moment forward. It's so hard to explain to someone. Like, I was actually at a music festival one of the times I took LSD, and Skrillex was playing. If I don't know Skrillex, that's like,
oh my God. Yeah, right.
And when I looked at the trees, obviously when you look at trees, and the wind's blowing, they kind of they just move like this. But when I tell you the trees were full on dancing, like these trees were legit dancing. Now, the thing with LSD is trying to explain to someone who's never been on a trip like that, you're going to be like, what do you mean the trees were dancing? It's only something that you can really understand if you've experienced it. So you're aware that the trees aren't literally dancing, but it looks like that to you. But
Wow.
that's why I'm, because like I said before, there has been confirmed at least right now 21 different dimensions happening all around of us. But we are currently 3-dimensional beings, possibly transitioning into the 4th dimension. But there are all of these dimensions happening around us that we're not perceiving and we're not aware of. How do you know you're hallucinating versus are you not just tapping into some form of another dimension? And the same thing with ghosts and spirits. Who are you to say that these people, this is someone who's passed over and their energy? How do you know you're just not tapping into a different dimension that you're not currently aware of? Brittany, you there? Brittany. Hi, Dawn. The walls were breathing. Yeah, Rosalang.
Hey, I have
Yeah,
a question.
sure.
So, and this may be way off because I'm not very well versed on this topic, but DMT, the drug DMT,
Joe
is
Rogan.
that, yes, that's where I heard this from, but is that similar to
No.
acid
I
and
mean, okay.
LSD?
So you know how I just got done explaining that even though the trees looked like they were dancing to me, I was consciously aware the entire time that they're not actually dancing. With DMT,
Right.
you will literally go to a different entire universe when you're on that. You are not aware that what's happening around you isn't actually happening. When I was on LSD, even though what I was perceiving was so realistic, I was aware, well, that's not normal, so this is part of the drug. But with DMT, I could be looking at the computer right now, but what I see is a Buddha in the middle of erupting colors out in the galaxy, and that's exactly what you will see. So the difference is with LSD, it takes what you would perceive as your normal reality and it would warp it, versus DMT, you're gone. You're not in this same reality. But who's to say again that you are hallucinating versus if anybody likes Joe Rogan, and I love Joe Rogan, and he is a very big DMT enthusiast, he's like, who's to say that I'm not tapping into something else currently going on right now that we just can't perceive in our everyday lives?
Yeah, I watched a few of his episodes on that, and I was like,
I love Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan because he's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go on. You're on a delay, so I apologize if I'm speaking over you.
I think it's my internet connection. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine.
This should be good now. He just speaks like it was a place, and it's not just you. It's everybody else that's tried it too. It's this one specific place that you go to. Are you familiar with that? It's like,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they say
it's really weird.
It's a place where, and I have not done DMT. DMT takes you places. Yes, Detroit Thug Life. What he described it as, he was basically, it's like a long hallway. And in this hallway, there's a bunch of, like those Buddha faces and all these like, historical, what people looked like back then, or the people with the elongated heads and skulls. He's like, it would be their faces and it would be like lava bursting with a bunch of different colors. And it would be multi-dimensional objects, a bunch of these multi-dimensional shapes and objects. And he says, what you're experiencing, it's not just visual, it's emotional, it's physical, it's mental. You're all experiencing it at once. And it's really, and yes, LSD in the right form can be used as a medicinal treatment. You are right, Dizzy Lizzie. But yeah, that, and if anybody likes the show Stranger Things, Stranger Things is based on a real experiment called the Montauk experiment, you know, and I didn't do my notes, didn't get to that yet because I figured this will be part 1 versus part 2. There's a lot of, you know, CIA and government experiments and projects on operations that they conducted, and it's a lot to try to get into during one live. But yeah, it's the fact that our own government did this to not only its citizens, okay, and Canadian citizens, their own CIA operatives. I mean, in their mind, if you want to try to figure out, is this a weapon the enemy can use, who better than to test it on than its own CIA operatives? But there were many deaths that this led to while MK Ultra was in effect. Many deaths.
Were you gonna go over where it began, like how it started?
You could do it, Britt.
You sure?
Yep, please take it.
So it began with the Nazis. Project, what was that called? Operation Paperclip, I think.
Operation Paperclip.
We basically captured all of the scientists that were working with Hitler, and we brought them here
to work
and
for
offered them. Yeah, and voila, they taught us how to do all of that fun stuff that Melissa's talking about.
So instead of charging the Nazis with war crimes and punishable by death after what they did, they decided these people are valuable. And not only, you know, this gets into the whole Antarctica and what's going on with Antarctica as well, because a lot of Nazis went to Antarctica. That's where Hitler sent his Nazis as a safe haven. But they decided we're going to hire them on to work for us. And this is where it really all first started.
Yep.
Okay, so I figured I would jump around because I want to talk about Operation Northwoods, Project Blue Book, and Stargate Project real quickly. So let's do. All right, let me do the Stargate Project because I'll save Operation Northwoods for the end. And if Tam is in here, by the way, if anyone's Miss Teasy Lee, Tam, if you're in there, drop your own link. Tam does tarot card readings, and she's very good with energies and stuff. So I was interested to see what your theories or what you thought about this. I don't know. I'm just trying to choose a picture that I could put up here. Let's do this. This is pretty.
Can I just say Project Star?
Go ahead.
Gate scares me. It really scares me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that is all. It just freaks me out.
It does. So for anyone who doesn't know what Project Stargate is, it's a 1991 code name for a secret U.S. Army unit established in 1978 at Fort Meade, Maryland, by the Defense Intelligence Agency and SRI International to investigate the potential for psychic phenomena in military and domestic intelligence applications. Now, this is something me and Brittany have spoken about before. They work primarily in remote viewing, which is the purported ability to physically see events, sites, or information from a great distance. One of the project's successes was the location of a lost Soviet spy plane in 1976 by Rosemary Smith. So I told you guys about this example in one of our previous videos, me and Brittany did, where they would bring these people in, these psychics who have these abilities to see these events, but not just events that happened now. They would be events that happened either in the future, present, or past. And it could be an event that happened on Earth, or it could be an event that happened on Mars, Russia, here, there. It's not limited. So they had something called remote viewing. And they had something called like astral projection, where I told you guys that they basically would write something on an envelope. Okay, so let's just say red licorice, and they would seal the envelope and they would put it outside of a room, and they would have that person lay in the bed out, inside the room. So that envelope is sealed on the whole other room. And this person would get into a real still meditative state of mind and body, and they would be able to astro project, which means their soul, their astral body would be able to leave from their physical form, go into that other room, open that envelope, read what was in that envelope, and come back to their body. But if you're looking at them just from your physical viewpoint, you won't ever see them get out of that bed. And they're able to say, red licorice. That was what was written on the note. Now, how are they able to do that? How? Because people do have these abilities, but we are taught from a very young age to suppress these abilities, that it's all a joke. You're crazy if you think you could talk, to people who've passed over, or that you're able to see the future. No, we do have these abilities. And the same thing with remote viewing. So basically, the government was experimenting with people where they would take something from the past, or they would take something from present. So they would have a small group of operatives, and they would have them in Russia somewhere in a bunker with whatever scenario was around them. And all the people would do is tell the person, we want you to think about this exact coordinates. They wouldn't tell them where the coordinates were or what's going on. They just handed them the coordinates, and they would close their eyes or whatever their thing is to do. And they would mentally be able to go to that exact spot and tell them what is going on. And they would know because they had operatives in that spot. And they would be like, I see a big windmill, I see 3 people. And it's so amazing because this isn't something that, like, oh, it's make believe. No, this is something that the government was doing in 91, and it goes back earlier, but this is just one of the official projects that was being conducted. Anything, Brittany? I'm waiting to give you your response.
I'm sorry. I just had one of my boys just came in the kitchen, so I'm here. I'll let you do that, and I'll be right back.
Take your time. Okay. So there's also something called Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was the systematic study of unidentified flying objects by the United States Air Force. Project headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. This project meant to have 2 goals: determine if UFOs were a threat to national security, and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data. This project was opened from 1952 to 1969. Thousands of UFO reports were collected, analyzed, and filed. So I know that this is something, again, me and Brittany have talked about. And keep in mind, when I said they had 2 goals, determine if UFOs were a threat to national security was one of them. This was in 1952. That means that they're already established that there are UFOs. If they weren't confirmed, one of the things that this should have been to establish was, what are UFOs? Do we have a reasonable explanation for this? Or is, because majority of UFO sightings, there is a reasonable explanation for it. But even if the 1%, 1 out of a million people who report it is telling the truth, and there is nothing that can account for it, there's still something up. Let me think. And it brings you back to Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar, who worked, sorry, hold on one second. Bob Lazar, who worked at Area 51, and his job was to work on these aerial crafts. Now, from what he said, these aerial crafts had anti-gravity propulsion, or basically no form of propulsion at all. Now, if anybody knows what propulsion is, it's basically, how do we get our cars to move? We have gas, and that's our form of propulsion. How do we get the planes to move? We have that form of propulsion. But these crafts basically seemingly had no form of propulsion whatsoever. That's why when you see or hear about a UFO, it's not just gliding through the air, it's going at all different angles, and you don't ever see any kind of exhaust coming from the ship or anything like that. And Bob Lazar spoke about this years and years and years ago. And he said these crafts were not man-made, okay? These crafts came from a different place. And when he described the interior of the craft, he described that there would be about 2 seats, but these seats were small enough to where it would fit what seemed like a human child. So, which makes sense, because when you hear about aliens, you hear about the small little gray ones. And he said back then, there was an element, 115 it was called, which didn't exist on the periodic table at that time. And that is the element they were using to basically maneuver and use anti-gravity. So basically, with this element in high amounts of it, you don't need any form of propulsion, no gas, no oil, no anything like that. It just would, like, basically magically make these crafts go. And he was called a fraud. The government legit erased his history. Everyone thought he was crazy. And then years and years later, a brand new element was added to the periodic table, element 115. Anything, Brittany? Are you back?
Okay. Yes, I'm here. Okay. So
don't apologize.
You're talking about the
Why
element. Well, good, because you're in the live, and I just had to leave you like that. Okay, yeah. Let me pull back all of my notes, because I have notes, and then I'll follow along with you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Before I jump to Operation Northwoods, I just wanted to hear if you had anything in regards to Project Blue Book, or anything in regards to the UFOs. Because right now, I don't know if you guys know, but if you put on the news, finally they are releasing footage of, oh, we caught this UFO on camera. It went from 0 to 200 miles per hour. And not only did it go that fast, it just stopped at the blink of a light and it dove right into the ocean. This has been around for a long time, you guys. They basically leak out little bits of information at a time, because we as the public can't be trusted with that type of knowledge, and they want to control the official narrative. But if you do put on the news, because mainstream news, fake news, you'll see that they're dropping a lot of footage of, like the Air Force caught this, where they track it. Basically, they're tracking it. This UFO is going 200 miles per hour, and that of a blink of an eye, it'll just stop. As you guys know, we can't go 200 miles per hour or in an airplane, even as fast as we're going. We have to slowly come to a stop. You can't, if you just stop midair, you would die. The amount of pressure, the amount of impact. But nope, these crafts not only do they not follow a straight line of trajectory, they will just stop. They will do maneuvers. They will go on its side. They're able to do impossible feats.
And also, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So Area 51 was created in 55, and just kind of to go back like to the mind control, the MK Ultra, it was all of this happened around the same time.
Yes.
Area 51 was created, MK Ultra took off, because Area 51 and the flying saucer technology and all of the MK Ultra experiments, all of that originated with the Nazis.
Yes, it did.
And we basically just rode off of their coattails, like all of that technology. And the question is, where did they get it from?
Where did this technology come from?
Yes.
So it doesn't just have to mean, you guys, that this came from a different planet and aliens. Now, when you say aliens, like we've said before, aliens just means a life form outside of Earth. That could be bacteria, or that could be an advanced intelligent race of some form. But you also have to take into account that we have a lot of evidence that there was a prehistoric advanced civilization here on Earth, meaning whatever happened, whether it was flash frozen or some type of natural disaster or man-made disaster that caused the life to become extinct. But there is a lot of evidence that just like we exist and we are an advanced civilization, there was before the dinosaurs, before anything. What do you think, Brittany? Do you think, because a lot of people think that's in Antarctica, and I know we've spoken about that too.
With Antarctica? Is that what you were saying? With the whole flash frozen?
Well, in regards to a prehistoric ancient civilization, an
Yes.
advanced civilization.
Yes, I wholeheartedly believe that like we hear of Atlantis and all of the myths, or it's not really myth to me. I believe that there is an ancient city in Antarctica under the ice that they are hiding from us.
Yes.
And slowly over time, the ice caps are melting, and eventually it's going to be visible. But with that technology, or that city, the technology's there as well, and all of the answers. They're keeping it all from us. But I swear, I believe they're going there to take orders from someone. I really do.
Yeah. So I'm going to give a shout out to Edge of Wonder. It's a really, really amazing. And I told you this when we first started talking, Brittany. They're a really amazing YouTube channel, and they're very high quality. They do amazing videos, and they touch upon all this type of topics. And they, they'll add in short audio clips and short visual clips and stuff like that. But basically, a lot of people, there's a lot of evidence that leads us to believe there is some form of advanced remnants of some kind underneath the ice in Antarctica. Now, the ice in Antarctica is slowly freezing. And I told you guys, even if you get up Google Maps right now and you start looking up Antarctica and just scrolling through, you're going to all of a sudden see these random objects, and you'll know if it's a natural object or not, because nowhere in nature will you see a straight line or a 90-degree angle. It doesn't happen naturally. And these are, a lot of people believe that these are either ships or crafts that we hid under there, or there was an ancient advanced civilization, whether you want to call it, what's that? What's the name of that?
Atlantis?
Atlantis, yeah. Whether you want to call it Atlantis or whatnot. But they always will have the elite officials, the top officials, go to Antarctica. Buzz Aldrin went to Antarctica. Right after that, he ended up in the hospital and got really sick.
And he tweeted out that cryptic tweet that he deleted that said that basically the world is at risk. I can't even remember. Irvin read it, or Shaq read it for us. I can't remember. Somebody read it out. I'll find it though. Hang on.
Have any of you guys heard of this before in the chat?
Hold on.
Oh no, Janessa, you're fine. Yeah. You're fine. Yeah, John, you use Google Earth too. You find interesting stuff in Google Earth. Like, there's some actually creepy stuff you could find.
Yeah, like if you use Google Earth to look over Antarctica, you can
Yes.
clearly see underneath the ice. There's I mean, I don't know if it's bunkers or it's tunnels, but you could see peaks, like something's sticking out from underneath it, and it goes for miles, like
Yep.
perfect. Like, I don't know, like the way a ceiling arches, like a
Yes.
perfect.
And because you could,
peak.
there's a measure option on Google Earth. Um, and so you could see how long is this object that I'm looking at, and it goes for miles. And exactly, Nikki, all the best people are crazy. That is true. It's the right kind of crazy. Okay. Are you looking that up, Britt?
Yes, I almost got it. I'm sorry.
No, stop apologizing. I'm just
No,
asking.
I'm saying I have got an impatient little 7-year-old standing beside me. So I'm juggling a shoddy internet connection, a sleepy little child. But yeah, I'm pulling it up. I just want to say I'm sorry because usually
Please stop apologizing. Majority of us are moms here. You do not need to apologize. I forgot I could highlight comments, you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely sunshine do. It's very, I mean, if you look up, yeah, Antarctica is very interesting. And if you Google it, people like you'll find the exact coordinates if if you don't want to take the time to do it yourself. But there are massive, massive things being unearthed in Antarctica. See, everyone's showing you love, Brittany. Everyone's saying you're doing good.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I just, like I said, I can't help it. It's a habit to say I'm sorry. I'll say it 100 times. I hate you. No.
Aww. I hate when my kid says that. They don't.
Oh, he's so mad at me. I hear that. I hear that so much. He's so mad at me right now. We don't say that.
He's 6.
I'm not kidding you when I tell you that it is so hard to find this tweet.
So don't even worry about it right now. Seriously.
Yeah, like I have found
live on Buzz Aldrin because that and the moon landing because that's a whole nother thing. Hey, think for yourself.
It's crazy because I found like 10 fact checkers on the tweet, but not the tweet itself. I need to ask Shaq where he found it that night because I don't know. Anyway, basically,
Shaq,
in layman's terms,
and send it to me.
Yeah, because he read it.
Yeah, he's very good at finding things very quickly. Why is he mad? Is he feeling an addict? Okay, so I'm going to move on to Operation Northwoods because I've talked to you guys a little bit about 9/11 and the passion that I have for it, how it's directly impacted my family. And this really tells you everything you need to know before you think people are crazy when they say something is up with 9/11 and the official narrative does not line up. You need to hear about Operation Northwoods, okay? Hey, Amber, Truth Seeker.
Oh, can I just say everybody's being so sweet in the chat. I'm loving the love and the support. I really appreciate it, and I know Melissa does.
Yeah, I appreciate it more than you guys realize. And if someone could drop CDT and Amber's channel in the chat, I would appreciate it so much. And sorry to ask a lot, but Irvin's also, if you guys could drop Irvin's in the chat, that would really, really mean a lot to me. Okay, so Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against the Cuban government that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States government in 1962. The government planned to fake terrorist attacks on its own U.S. citizens, on the U.S. military. Sorry, I lost my space. Fake terrorist attacks on the U.S. military was once willing to deceive and attack its own citizens for political reasons. Sorry, guys, I totally lost my spot. This happened in the 1950s, in the 1960s. The U.S. was in the grip of the Cold War and terrified by the threat of communism. Cuba
Sound
was
familiar?
yeah. Cuba was deemed such a threat that a huge amount of intelligence and military activity was devoted to finding ways to dispose or assassinate Fidel Castro. A plan devoted to finding ways, oh my God, I said the same line again. A plan to create fake attacks on friendly, defective Cubans, U.S. military bases, and U.S. citizens, all designed to appear conducted by Cuba. This is known as a false flag operation. So sorry that I read those lines all mixed up. But basically, what's it called? So basically, what they planned to do, they were threatened so much about Fidel Castro and Cuba and the threat of communism that they designed a plan to fake terrorist attacks on the U.S. soil and make it seem like it came from Fidel Castro and Cuba so that they could push their political narrative. It would be used to garner the public and political support necessary for direct military intervention against Cuba. So obviously, we don't get to just say, we don't like Cuba, so we're going to go and attack. You need the public and political support to make a move like that. Is this sounding really familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, the documents read like a how-to manual for 9/11 conspiracies. Yeah. Documents outlined an elaborate plan for a fake attack of the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, including suggestion number 10, sink ship near harbor entrance, conduct funerals for mock victims, end of quote. Casualty lists in U.S. newspapers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation, end of quote. It never went beyond this stage or executed, but the fact that our government planned, now not only planned, this was a full-on operation, and planned mock funerals to do attacks against its own U.S. citizens on its own freaking land to push their political agenda is terrifying. Now, if you ever want to look up 9/11, and I know it's a touchy subject, like I said, 9/11 directly impacted my family. I lost family in 9/11, and you can't even talk about it in my household because of how touchy it is. But it does not add up. 9/11 was a false flag operation, allegedly, in my opinion. Anybody who does research for themselves would know this. And this, like I said, was back in the 50s. Oh, sure,
No,
Rosa Lang. I didn't even know you had a channel. If someone could put Rosa Lang's channel in the description, I'm definitely going to subscribe. I will go back when I'm done.
There are always, like, this is more in my neck of the woods. Melissa's really good with the like everything else we just talked about. I'm pretty well versed in Antarctica when I don't have a 7-year-old beside me, but this right here happens often, more often than we realize. Like even down to the smallest of events. If they have an official narrative, some type of political agenda that they want to put into place, they'll do whatever they have to do, whether it be school shootings. 9/11, which was by far probably the biggest false flag in history. That's probably the worst of all.
Yeah, it was bad.
But there's always hints of, like, they like to leave clues. I don't know. I swear it's a way to, like, mock us, but they'll use sequences of numbers like 33. They love the number 33. They love the number 11. they love the number 6, obviously. And maybe one day, Melissa we can get together and go over secret societies and things that the government are tied into that involve the satanic agenda, which like I said, even if you don't believe in God or you don't believe in the devil, they do, and there's proof of this. But in a lot of these false flag events, they'll have what you call crisis actors, and they literally have posted ads on the internet calling for people, hiring people to take and there's always a drill. If a school shooting happens, no matter if it's a false flag, 9 times out of 10, someone on the news will say, well, we just had a drill here like last week. They always have a drill first before they do it, like a practice run.
But it does, Michelle. And the thing about 9/11, because I've done as much, I don't like to use the word woke, but 9/11 is what woke me. What's it called? It's not just one angle that does not add up. It is every possible different angle you look at that day. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense.
No, the official story with 9/11 is more bizarre than the conspiracies.
Yep. And it was families who realized this does not make sense, that they pushed finally for an investigation, and the investigation was a complete joke. Bush and Dick Cheney only agreed to be in a room and testify together. Like Bush had to sit on friggin' Cheney's lap, legitimately. Floor. Yep. Well, there was no plane into the Pentagon, Amber Truth Seeker. It's not a plane. You're telling me the Pentagon, one of the most secured places in the United States, and there was multiple different angle footages, even from the gas stations across the street and whatnot. And there is interviews and footage of those gas station attendees saying how fast they came into that gas station to get that footage, okay? And all we were released were 2 to 3 still frame shots. And it was, even if you want to try to say, okay, maybe that was a plane in the footage, the impossible maneuvers that plane would have had to make to get down that low, okay, and go into the Pentagon, it's impossible. And the people who flew the planes did one flying class, and they couldn't even pass a basic flying class at all. This is maneuvers that an experienced pilot would not even be able to do. Or how about Shanksville, Pennsylvania? There is no plane whatsoever. They're trying to say that the plane nosedived into the ground, and it is technically, even though you can't see, where's the plane? It's inside the ground, they're saying. So basically, if you got a shovel and start digging, eventually you'll find an entire plane. That's what they're trying to say.
Melissa, do you believe in the thermite theory of how the towers were taken down?
Such as black powder.
Where is the rubble? Where are those 2 buildings? I live in New York. I remember what it was. The Twin Towers, the largest buildings, the tallest buildings in Manhattan, in New York, okay? They crumbled in its own footprint. And they weren't able to recover. The largest piece of steel was like a 4-foot steel beam that was cut on a perfect 45-degree angle, the same way that they will when it's a controlled demolition. No, do you know how many office supplies were in those Twin Towers? how many cabinets, how many desks, how many phones, all that stuff. Nada. Those towers fell at quicker than what was it called? The speed of sorry, my head's not working. I wasn't planning on getting on 9/11.
But the thing is, it's hard for all of these things not to tie in together.
I'm not even touching upon it yet. Okay. Or how about the protocol on the airplanes? There is no reason ever, it doesn't matter what's going on in that airplane. They do not open the pilot's door. You do not get into that cabin. There are safety words. There are things that they are trained for in these scenarios. Okay. And there's never any reason that the pilots would open that door. It doesn't matter if you are massacring everyone, because if they get hold of that cabin, everybody dies. So there's no way they would open that door. The flight attendants, first of all, are we really supposed to believe with box cutters and mace, these two people were able to overcome an entire airplane? No. Or go back into, they have it documented, the phone calls of the flight attendants and some family members when they called back to their families before the first plane hit. They were on the phone back to station. Doesn't add up. Or how about Tower 7? BBC reporter reported Tower 7 fell before it even fell. It's literally behind her.
That one really gets me.
Yeah. Tower 7 fell and crumbled in its own footprint. It was not ever hit. They're trying to say it was fires just from the wind blowing. A couple of office fires made it crumble in its own footprint.
But none of the other buildings that were surrounding Tower 7 were affected. Correct. Explain that. And then the ladies on the news just sitting there chatting away about Building 7 going down, and it's just standing perfectly fine behind her.
Yep.
They slip up all the time.
Or how about they were doing test flights that day? Out of all the days they were doing with the Air Force, they were doing test flights where they were doing trained terrorist attacks, okay? And they refused to tell the Air Force whether this was real life or was this still just the scenario until after the last plane went down, okay? So this entire time, we could have had fighter jets within 2 minutes, and they refused to pull the, what is it called? It's like a scenario that they play, you know, like basically go out and practice if, you know, we were ever under attack, how we would handle it. And you can even hear this entire recorded audio. Is this real life or is this simulation? They didn't even tell them until after the last plane went. Now, why? Or how about the fact that there is a bunch of footage, they don't ever play it on mainstream news, of before the towers crumbled, before the towers ever fell and demolished in its own footprint, there were bombs going off in the lobby. Okay? Exactly. Some drill versus real world.
It's always a drill. It's always a drill.
And there's these firefighters sweating and bleeding, and they're like, we don't know what's going on, but the lobby is blown up. Now, if the planes hit the top of the buildings, why are the lobbies blown to pieces? One firefighter said that he witnessed the elevator shafts opening up and a flood of fire just came out. Those buildings were built to be able to take the impact of 3 to 4 commercial planes without ever, and if they were ever to fall, they would either pancake, meaning one level down to the next level, and then maybe that level down to the next, or topple over, but they will never crumble in its own footprint. There was no rubble, you guys. I was here. I remember. There was nothing. It was just the footprint of where the towers once stood.
Like what? But one of the things that makes me wonder about thermite is they say that thermite will make you feel like from the inside out.
Yep.
And they were saying that a lot of those people that were jumping out of the buildings,
People were
their
jumping out.
shirts were off and stuff. It was like they
And
felt like they were burning from the inside
yep,
out.
yep. And there's a woman who did a really good presentation on the thermite. But can you imagine how awful inside those buildings would have had to be if the better option was to jump? And I know it's awful. And I know a lot of people don't like talking about it. Like I said, you can't mention this inside the house of my family, but it's better to bring awareness and be aware and conscious of what our own government is willing to do to us than to be sheep. Don't be sheep.
The big, I don't know what you call them, but the overheads of the building just so happened to be out that day. Anybody that would even be considered important just so happened to be out that day, and they didn't come to work.
Correct. Or how about the owner of the Twin Towers, the guy who owned the Twin Towers? Hold on, sorry. The guy who owned the Twin Towers admitted this was planned, admitted that people came in prior and it was set up like a controlled demolition.
Didn't he take out like a major insurance policy as well?
Yes, he did, because they were trying to figure out, well, the buildings had asbestos in it and he wouldn't have been able to make his money back. So the easier option, and to push the official narrative, because we wanted to go to war. We wanted to go to war with these people, okay? So it pushed the political agenda. Yeah, Susan, I remember I was in 5th grade, and I remember someone coming into my teacher, and I remember the look on my teacher's face, and they came in and they shut all of the blinds and curtains on the windows and made us get underneath our desks. And then eventually we all went to the gymnasium and we went home. And it was, because I remember every day we would put on the TV and all of the people's remains that they found, their names would be scrolling on the TV. And we sat there and waited for my uncle's name. That it wasn't until years later that they found a tiny little bone fragment of his toe. But it's awful.
It's absolutely disgusting. And with Parkland, the Parkland shooting, and there are others. I just can't think right off the top of my head, but I promise there are others where you could Google the Parkland shooting, and the massacre was posted on Google 3 days prior to the shooting.
I'm not familiar
with that.
This
happened so many times.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yes. With Sandy Hook as well. Both of those, I can't remember the exact dates, but I know it was 2 or 3 days prior to the shootings. There was an article posted on Google about it before it ever happened. Yes, and then with Parkland.
Sorry, Brittany.
With Parkland, that one also makes me think of MK Ultra. Also with the Vegas shooting.
The Vegas shooting, another one that just, you guys need to do your research. I know it's hard. It's hard. But by ignoring it makes what they're doing okay. By ignoring it and not putting your foot down and not waking up is saying, hey, you could do it again to us at any moment. It's not okay what they did. That day, it's so hard to talk about 9/11. It's like it's a no zone. You can't touch that subject. I guarantee even when I brought it up, everyone feels that eerily sense of silence because that's what we all experienced. But by not getting, like, justice means the truth. And the truth doesn't mean it's pretty. The truth can be ugly. But the truth is the truth. And that's the only way you can achieve justice.
That's it. That's absolutely right. And think about it this way. If we were all nut jobs and we didn't know what we were talking about or everything we were saying was false, why would they be so threatened by us talking about it? Like if someone if someone was talking about something that I didn't just realize and keep going, but they go out of their way to censor anybody who talks about, especially 9/11. If you talk about 9/11 being an inside job, they will shut you down in a heartbeat.
Mary was at the concert. I am so sorry for what you experienced. I could not even imagine what that must have been like.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, there was reports of multiple shootings or multiple shooters at Vegas. I remember that.
Yeah, there were, and even in the audio, they took everyone's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they took everyone's phone. They took everyone's phones that night.
Yeah.
And hello, Allie.
Just, as creepy as it is, and I'm not sure if, this is true or not, but who is it? That country singer that was singing that night?
I'm very bad.
Vegas.
I only know rock and roll, so I don't know anyone's names.
I can't remember exactly what the tattoo was, but he got a tattoo that basically symbolized the shooting, and it wasn't like a tattoo where they were like commemorating the people or anything. This was previous to the shooting. I think it was like an ace of spade card and something else. But I'll have to pull it up and look at it. But it was predictive programming is what a lot of people are saying.
Eric Church, Jason Aldean.
Yes, that's him. Hold on, I'm going to pull the picture up and then I'll describe it to you.
Okay. But yeah, you guys, even with 9/11, how about there was no planes, but they were able to find the terrorist passport sitting right on the curb? Or how about 11 of the terrorists, or however many, between 11 or 12 or 13 or something of them, are still alive? Like, people realize that? The people who flew the planes into the World Trade Center or Shanksville, Pennsylvania, or the Pentagon, they're still alive. Oh, and by the way,
I never thought about that.
Topics, go check out Megan.
Oh my God, they are.
If you guys can drop her link, she has a great channel and she does really in-depth discussions about this stuff. But yes, they're still alive. No, they don't put that on mainstream media news. Yep. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mary.
Mary, did y'all hear helicopters flying overhead that night?
I couldn't imagine, man.
Yeah, with the predictive programming, they'll tell you things or events before they happen, like years in advance, whether it's through commercials, movies. They'll warn you and tell you about it.
Nikki B, I love you. You are my girl. Thank you for being here. That's right, Sunshine. That would be very interesting. Like I had planned, like 9/11, it's going to take like a week worth of lives, but I'm nervous to do it. It's a touchy subject. There's a lot of information. And I don't really know what the YouTube rules are with that. Like I'm thinking if you could just throw in my opinion out, but like, see, I'm not ever trying to tell someone what I think happened. I don't know what the fuck happened. All I know is what didn't happen. And anybody who takes the time to do the research themselves will figure out that is not the official narrative, is nowhere near what occurred. And there was a guy who predicted that a fake terrorist attack from Saddam Hussein was going to occur so we could go at war. and he was killed. Exactly, yeah.
Did you ever listen to Bill Cooper? Or have you ever heard of him?
I'm not sure. I don't like you'd have to tell me about it. I'm not good with names.
Okay, so he basically was the Alex Jones of the early 90s.
Aliens. Sorry, that was my
But
pitiful
he was a
Alex.
little more serious than Alex Jones. Like, I like Alex Jones, but Bill Cooper, he said in 1995 that the government was going to pull the biggest false flag event on America, and that it was going to be an event so big and so devastating that it would change the course of our country forever.
Yes.
And that the whole goal was to push us towards a global government. And that this event was going to be so terrifying that it was going to shape the way that we think, and that we were going to be basically begging for them to take our freedoms and trade it for safety and security.
I like
died.
Duty Ron, Dawn. I do like Duty Ron.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
The first time I seen him was on Profiling Evil's channel. That's a good channel. But so he predicted that, and he warned people about it all the time. And I want to say it was 2000, Bill Cooper was killed by fire. I think it was a standoff in his front yard. And he had a radio station, and he told people all the time that they were going to take him out. He died by mysterious circumstances, and 2001, 9/11 happened.
Yep. It's sad, but that's why I mentioned Operation Northwoods, you guys. Back in the 50s, they were planning a false flag attack to push their political agenda. They have to do something traumatic like this in order to because think about it. Think about when 9/11 happened. How many guys stood up and women stood up and said, I'm going to war. I signed up that day to fight for our country. They got exactly what they wanted. And it is so awful. And it impacted so many people. It really is the day America stood still. That's the best way to describe it. And they were able to do it without anyone asking any questions. To this day, it's off limits.
God, Melissa. Okay, I found it. What it is with the tattoo of Jason Aldean, the singer at Vegas? You remember when I told you about the Illuminati cards?
Yes.
They predict the future. Okay, one of the Illuminati cards is Las Vegas, and on that card is a jack, a jack, and then an ace, and then it's like the Vegas dancers. Where Jason Aldean got that tattooed on his arm before the shooting happened. And anybody can look that up. Just type in Jason Aldean's Vegas tattoo.
Same thing with The Simpsons. The Simpsons has predicted many, many things happening. Even down to there was one where they had an old episode of Trump going up an escalator with a sign as a president. And it literally happened. Then someone took a picture of Trump going up the escalator with a sign, and they did a side by side, and it was crazy.
Yeah. The Simpsons has been on point about everything, but I've always just chalked that up to Matt Groening's probably in the club, and he's in the know about what's going to happen.
Thanks for the heads up, Megan. I figured, I was like, this is something that I should probably tread lightly on. But see, that's what pisses me off. I'm not questioning the authenticity. I will give you the facts as they gave us, and it's up to you to make your own decision. Judge it for yourself. Oh, I saw that too, Dawn. Oh, before it was hit. Oh, wow.
That's another thing. SEAL Team 6. The ones who took out Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Didn't they all go down in a helicopter crash like not long after that?
I'm not sure. I don't want to answer if I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm almost certain of it. SEAL Team 6. they supposedly took out Osama bin Laden, and then it was like not very long after. Somebody in the chat is probably familiar with that, but yeah, I think it was a helicopter crash. They all mysteriously
Jennifer
died.
said no. Jennifer said no. I think she's saying no to us because it's capitalized. Yeah, Sunshine Blog. I'll definitely do some research into that and try to make connections.
Oh, FEMA terrifies me.
Yeah. A lot terrifies me.
Or like with the Red Cross. Like any of the big hurricanes that have happened in the past few years, there's been so much scandal surrounding the Red Cross with like the blankets that were donated for people. They were going and seizing things from churches, taking all of the church's resources and just stocking up all of these resources that were for all the people in these big storage buildings and not handing anything out to them.
Even, do you guys know that we can control the weather? This has already been confirmed. Like, we are able to send some kind of shock waves up into the clouds and cause thunderstorms. And they do it in areas that have severe drought. They are able to plan the weather and stuff. So if you think we can make it rain, make it rain. Like, we can make it pour.
I don't know if that's what's going on lately, but I'm in North Carolina, and the past 3 winters, it's been like Europe over here. It just rains every day. But I'm convinced that they're somehow manipulating the hurricanes over the last few years, because I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's like Africa's got a hurricane gun and they're just pumping them off
You were
one by one.
I'm surprised with how many people knew about it. Yeah, it's HAARP.
Yeah, HAARP is interesting.
And so is CERN. You know, CERN, who is literally creating black holes, you guys. They are smashing particles together at the speed of light, creating mini black holes. And keep in mind, in the center of every galaxy is a black hole, and a black hole can suck us all up alive. Like, the shit that they're doing, and this is just what we know. Can you imagine what's going on behind the scenes? Like, the amount of technology we have is well beyond what we have with our iPhones. Oh, that's nice, Sarah. Oh, sorry, it jumped. What happened to it? Do? I don't know what do is, Megan. I believe you, though.
Yeah, what happened to Jesse Ventura? Like, he did a show for a little bit.
He got into a fight, actually.
Direct energy weapons.
Oh, yes. And do you know, I would love to talk to you too. Rose Gold, send me an email. My email is in my description. That along with the UFOs that I was talking about, where we have our like nuclear weapons and stuff, where there's sightings of UFOs, they will come over towards our weapons and it'll just suddenly shut down. Like, they'll deactivate the weapons as if they're trying to communicate to us. Like, dude, like, you're destroying your own world. Like, why should we have the ability to go into space and travel through? Because if you're traveling through space, you're traveling through time. And why should we have the ability to, so what? We could blow each other. We can't even be on this one earth together. And what we all need to realize is that it's not about whether you're black or white or Spanish or this or that. We are the human race. And this is what, was it called? What's his name said? President, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having brain farts today. What's his name?
I'm probably rubbing off on you. I'm sorry.
My brain's just not working right now. President, oh my God. Whatever. He said that, you know, it's until we have the threat of an alien invasion that we're all going to realize, no, it's not Eisenhower, that we're all.
Oh, you're talking about Reagan.
Yes, Reagan. Thank you. He's like, it's not until there's a threat of some other form coming in that we're going to realize we are all a human race. You know, we need to stop fighting each other and be prepared. You don't want to expect to fight, an alien, an extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call it, a being from outside of Earth, but you also need to be prepared. And we shouldn't be fighting each other. Oh, don't even get me started with the Mandela effect, Jamie.
Reagan was the one that ended the mental institutions where they were doing experiments on people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Mary. I know that must have been an awful, awful experience, but I appreciate you having the courage and talking about that in chat with us. Yeah, exactly, Shelly Love. Oh no, Brittany's gone. Oh, absolutely, Ashley. The Vatican has secrets. Yep. It's okay, Britt. I'll copy it and I'll paste it again. Yeah, one thing that the Sandy Hook, I know that there's been a lot of talk about that. I posted it, Britt. But it's one of those that I don't do good with kids. I avoided the Watts case for a long time because it bothers me. Yeah, Don Reagan was a good president. Thank you, Rose Lang. But I never, it's one of those touchy subjects, and have you looked up Sandy Hook, Brittany?
Girl, I invested probably 3 months straight into that.
Really?
It destroyed me.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Because
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. What was you going to say?
No, I was going to just say, what do you think is what's your theory?
Okay, please don't be mad at me, anybody. I really, really watched a lot on this, and I don't think anyone died in that situation. Specifically because I seen a father caught on I don't know, it's not the hot mic because you can see him on camera, but before he was aware that the camera was live, he was laughing and joking with everybody. And then when they told him, okay, yeah, okay, you're live. It's time for you to give your statement about your child that just was gunned down yesterday. The dude walks up to the podium, takes a few deep breaths, and gets into character. And then attempts to try to make himself cry. So that was like my first red flag. And then I see another dad, played 3 different roles in one day. He was the dad of a dying child. Then he was a police officer, in full gear, walking around like a dummy. He couldn't even hold the gun right. And then Gene Rosen, the man who supposedly took the bus of children into his home, the neighbor, he was an awful actor. But there are so many things. Also, let me just say that they have like this community center with this big sign that says for all the actors and actresses to check in at the station before they assume their roles, basically. I just don't. There was too many inconsistencies with that case, and I just don't think anyone died. I don't.
Good night,
I'm
Amber.
sorry.
Thank you so much for coming. Mwah.
And it's like Adam Lanza and his mom. No one in that neighborhood knew them. Nobody knew them or ever seen them. It's almost as if Adams Lanza never existed.
I see. I did see that only because I remember Alex Jones he got a lot of backlash because he was one of the first people who called Sandy Hook out. And he got a lot of backlash for it, but I remember seeing that clip. Oh God, Cozy, really?
There was so much dupe and delight with those people, Melissa. It was unreal.
It made you question. Now, I'm not saying he didn't lose a child. I'm not saying any of that. All we're saying is that it's very strange that basically when you have the hot mic and the camera's rolling before they say go, and it's picking you up laughing and joking, and then all of a sudden on the drop of a dime, you're just crying and stuff. Like, if that happened to my child, I would be inconsolable. I wouldn't even be able to do an interview, let alone, I don't know.
Y'all, there was this YouTube channel called Barry Sotoro, and I love this channel. This guy, okay, so he did conspiracy, but it was with like comedy to make it, more where you could handle it or whatever. But he found every picture, every day predicted what the official narrative was for Sandy Hook. The guy on the hot mic, I'm telling y'all, there was one of the students who supposedly died as dad. I woke my dad up with this whole case because, and my dad, let me tell you, he's one of those people that would look at you and tell you you're crazy. He bought the media hook, line, and sinker. And when I showed him one of these students' dads dressed up as an officer, supposedly at the school that day, it blew his mind. It was the guy was in the full riot gear, and it's the same man. They didn't even try. It was as if they ran out of crisis actors or something. I'm telling y'all.
And when you see these orchestrated events, because crisis actors, they do exist, people. Sometimes you will see the same crisis actor in different crises.
Yes. Yes, there was a girl that was supposedly a sister to one of the victims. This same girl, I can't even remember his name. It was one of the guys that was taken captive in Iraq, and he was beheaded on the beach. Well, his sister went live on ABC. It was the same girl that was the supposed sister of one of the victims of Sandy Hook.
See? It's
why it's like they want you to know they're lying to you.
They do. And I know that Megan because I watched the video of what she did in regards to the Watts case, and she was showing common themes and common similarities and repetitive, whether it's words or objects or things that they would say, that is basically showing you, hey, this is all some kind of bigger setup going on, but it wouldn't necessarily be something that you pick up if you're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. That's what I meant about symbols and numbers earlier. They use the same sequences of numbers and symbols when it's something that they've done. Like, for an example, this shooting happened at 3:33 in the afternoon. Or the guy that was, giving an interview on the news, he has a Masonic necklace on. Or they'll do symbols with their hands. And as crazy as that sounds, after you see that so many times with so many different cases, and then you start learning about all of the little, tips and tricks and all of the things that they do, it's almost, they're low-key saying, F you, we know that you know, and here's our way of showing you that we know you know. Like mockery.
Control, right.
Yeah. And you see it all the time. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll probably get a lot of heat for this, but I'm not so sure about the Watts case anymore. I'm not saying that I'm sold on that, but if you go look at Megan J's videos,
I know.
And I I caught on to this before I even seen her videos. Some of the stuff in that house, like some of the statues and the things on the wall, like there's sun worship stuff, there's serpents, there's a lot of number sequences with the Watts case. I'm seriously starting to question it as well.
I know. It's, like, listen, it's okay to question things, you guys. It's not necessarily, you don't have to figure out, well, what does it mean? But the first step is to come to the conclusion that the official narrative doesn't add up. I don't know exactly what happened in the Watts case or 9/11 or this or that. All I know is the official narrative does not add up.
All you have to do is go look up. Type in the Illuminati if you want to. I don't like using that word because I feel like it's
people roll their eyes and they go,
yes.
Secret
but look
society.
up look up secret societies, and then once you look into that, then you'll learn about the numbers and the symbols, like the pyramid. We talked about that on the last live. They do a lot of it's sun worship, basically.
Yep.
It's ancient Egyptian worship. So you'll see the pyramid and a lot of stuff. You'll see the eye. Have you noticed, like, all the celebrities, they always have the one eye symbolism. It's everywhere.
Everywhere. Always. And it even, like we said the last time, all of a sudden you'll see these celebrities glitching out. Is this a form of mind control? Is this even the celebrities, or are these droids of some sort? Like, there's some really eerie footages of you only say celebrities because they're the only people that we have recordings of, but this could be happening to anyone. And it's just, here, I'll get I'll get it up. Let me, who is
Melissa, all of that ties back to what your original topic was in the beginning, mind control.
Yep.
The monarch programming. There's a lot of people, and myself included, that believe that these celebrities and politicians that they use to influence us are under their control by MK Ultra. What better way to have a human puppet than to control them with mind control?
Absolutely. And you guys have to remember, yes, this is MK Ultra, but it would be different projects now, but under the same, like, just more advanced, basically. Okay, so hold on. I'm going to show you guys. This is a clip of Al Roker, who was on the news one day, and out of nowhere, sorry, I was looking at Janessa's comment, but out of nowhere, he just looks to the right and starts to gaze out, and he keeps this emotionless face on. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember what word they said, but after they said one word, he snapped back into it as if that was his trigger word. So hold on, let me share the screen. Okay, so you guys could see this, right? Al Roker's on the left.
That's exactly how you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in your eye.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway,
okay, see, they just said ghost. I look at Al Roker.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away.
And he's just staring.
As Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty
and
little
he's
thing
not
waiting for
moving.
the king down in the jungle room. Natalie Morales.
Now, wait, that was not the full clip. He did that for so long. I can't even tell you how long he did that for. And I don't remember what word. I have to do it on YouTube, actually. But all of a sudden he snaps back into it. But it was like, what just happened there?
That particular clip scares me. Like, that's one of the more, like, or what about the one with Eminem? Have you seen that one where he's like on ESPN? Oh my God.
Al Roker frozen on today's show. Okay. Okay. And there's a few of Al Roker like Frozen.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. Will someone do
Rub
the
it in.
junior high hug
No, this is the one that freaks me out.
dance? I'm gonna make it real awkward.
That's exactly how you have to have a certain amount of distance between
Yes,
the bodies
exactly.
in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away. The king
Like,
of rock
just
and roll,
look
as
at
Mark
him.
Cohn says in his great song "Walking in Memphis." There's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle.
Oh my God, why do they keep cutting? Okay, you guys, he's still, I'm sorry, it's just not working. But he stayed like that for so long.
It was almost as if she said a trigger word or something,
Yes,
and he
and then
just
after he
snapped.
says another word, it happens. So, okay, look. I'm
This
not going
one,
to play
oh
the
God.
full one because I don't want to get striked.
You need to focus and try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible. But it is going to bother you.
Yeah, he's an android all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Still.
Hold on. I want to
Yeah, it's just for fun.
try to use. Look this up your guys' self. Like, just type in glitches. I've never seen this one. I don't know what this is. Just look up glitches, like celebrity glitches, and you're going to find so many. Look at this girl's face. Okay, ready? This one's weird.
Break it too. And you don't know how to do that. So that's where I come in and I keep your emotions and I deal with
Look
your
at that
emotions
girl's
over here.
fucking
When it's time
face.
for business, I implement
I have showed this to so many people, and I can't find one
handling it.
good explanation to what could cause someone to do that.
What is going on with her? Okay. All right. There is. Oh, yeah. This is the one where the astronaut just falls to the ground, but I'm not even going to do that one. Al Roker. Okay. This is Lady Gaga, but I never take Lady Gaga seriously because who knows? It's Lady Gaga.
Yeah, with her, you just never know. Good Lord. See, I could attribute that to benzos. Like, you just never know with that.
I don't want to play the whole thing just because I don't know what the rules are with any of this. But they're what the Eminem one?
But Lady Gaga dabbles with just type in Eminem glitches on ESPN, and that should pop up. This right here is bizarre. There it is. Yeah.
And what a pleasure for Herbie and me to introduce Marshall Mathers.
Look at his
may know
face.
him as Eminem.
Just crazy.
Join the Saturday Night crew with our music intro starting next Saturday night. But folks, I want to take you to the world premiere of one of his new videos called Berserk. Take a listen. It's headed for the top of the charts. So was that the great Rick Rubin who was
Like, look, even when they
produced
came
that?
back,
Would
he's
you,
still.
Marshall, when you did that? Yeah, sorry.
And then he just
And then
bam.
he snaps out.
And then just bam, he comes right back into it.
Mhm.
Oh, he's drunk.
Explain that.
Yeah, Queen
There's
Bee.
so
Yeah.
many celebrities that do the same thing.
There, you guys.
But if you go look up,
yeah, look it up. Like the amount that there are, it's insane. This isn't just a few, and there's a lot where people's eyes will like the way a cat eyes will be. It'll be a slit. You'll find a lot of these celebrities' eyes just changing from slits to regular, like weird stuff.
now that I can't explain, but with the glitches and the trigger words, if you go do research on MK Ultra, that is a lot of effects of them coming out of the mind control.
Yes.
And they like you
I
hear
know
about all
what
these.
you're doing. Cardi B. Even
Oh,
Hillary Clinton.
she's one of the worst.
There was once where Hillary Clinton literally coughs up to. I'll show you guys that. It's pretty weird.
I never figured out what that was.
Dude, Hillary Clinton goes to drink a sip of water, but if you look closely, she coughs up these like two balls after. don't even know what it is. I really don't.
Yeah, there's also a clip of Joe Biden recently. Yeah, this, oh my God.
You can't even hear it, really. Okay, here it is.
Yeah, it's more about what she does anyway.
Yeah, watch. Wait, is this? Where is it?
It's probably more towards the middle.
Oh, I don't know.
I know, like she says vagina or something
Yeah,
before it
she
happens.
starts like speed talking and stuff. I don't know. Hold on. Hillary Clinton coughs. I know this is gonna sound awful. Coughs balls, but
It is. It's green balls.
it is. So just watch.
Well, thank you. Whoa.
That woman coughs so much.
Mm-hmm. Now watch, you guys. Look in the water when she goes. Wait, I hope they zoom up to it.
Well, you just heard the next vice president, didn't you?
Oh gosh, you can't even talk. Hold on.
In addition to
Oh, come on. They're not zooming up. Come on. All right, I'm not prepared, you guys. I'm sorry. But there's literally, like, if you look closely, instead of taking a sip, these two balls fall into the water. You know what I'm talking about, Brittany, right? Brittany? Brittany?
Yes, I'm here.
You know what I'm talking about, though? Because I can't find it. But
I do. It's not like snot boogers and not trying to be gross. This is legit balls, like two round balls.
And like, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'll have to come prepared next time. But literally, she takes a sip, and it wasn't until someone zoomed up, and instead of taking a sip, what falls into the water are two big balls. Like, Brittany is glitching, Shelly. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me all right?
You're fine, darling. She's just screwing with you.
Okay. So, yeah, if I ever start glitching like that, though, y'all better get me some help because something ain't right.
I promise I will get you the help.
Please, girl. So, no, seriously, though, these balls that she spit. Now, I don't know. I mean, they were like the size of a freaking one of those little bouncy balls get out of a quarter machine.
They were huge.
But I have a couple theories on this, though. One obviously is the MK Ultra, and I'm almost positive that's going on. But you know, like we were talking about aliens on the last live, and I think it was you said something about like they're amongst us. They're here already, and we can't tell the difference between them and us.
Yep.
Well, I theorize that some of these entertainers and people in high places are something else. And somebody mentioned in the chat, like if you look up the presidents or some of the celebrities, they're like all cousins. And that's true. You can find that. They're like distant cousins.
Yes, you are right. You could always trace them back to each other.
Yeah, and so and they're very, very specific about bloodlines.
Yep, absolutely, because they want, that's what the
Like the
whole
bloodlines of the
body,
royal family. They want Mary out of their own
want,
bloodlines.
they don't want, yeah, they want
Mhm.
it to be, there's 13 bloodlines, including Rockefeller and stuff, and they want to keep it all within these bloodlines.
Yep.
Probably, Nikki. There's some that you could just shake off and be like, all right, there's probably a reasonable explanation. But there are some that it's just bizarre. All you guys have to do is type in MK Ultra glitches and things. There's so, and they make really good videos, compilations. I just didn't prepare. I'm not sure, like, I've never played clips before, so I'm not sure what I could play, how long I could play it with commentary. I'll have to look that up so I could be prepared next time. But hello, Linwood. I didn't know you were here. I hope you are doing wonderful, and I hope you are taking care of my Nikki so well, but I already know you are, but I still got to just say it.
Nikki's
I love
so
Edge of
lovely.
Wonder. Jamie, I just said it before. I said the one shout out I'm going to do is the Edge of Wonder. They do amazing videos and such interesting. And that's what I told you, Brittany, when we first started talking, but I'll send you tomorrow, like I'll send you their name so you can look up. You would love it.
Well, you're going to have to, because that's, for once, that's something that I'm not aware of. Like, usually you say things and I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't know about that.
They're an amazing, they all, like, that's who I go to. They have Corey Good, David Wilcox, all the people in regards to, like, and if you really want, like, to look up, like, Corey Good's story, it's these officials that swear that we are in communication with multiple different alien races. They have all of these experiences of these portals and how we are able to jump through time and space.
Oh, I got to see that.
So, and they have, you know, like the moon landing conspiracies, the Buzz Aldrin, you know, punching the reporter in the face who said, you didn't go to the moon. And Antarctica. I love everything I learned, really, you know, even though I knew about it, but through Edge of Wonder, it's great. They have Laura Eisenhower, which is Eisenhower, the president's granddaughter, and she has admitted to what her family has been involved with. And it's all about raising your consciousness and your like vibrational and energy. And these reptilians and these people want to keep our vibration lower. They feed off of that negativity. Yes, I have investigated the planet Nibiru. Yes, I did. I will have to do specific lives because it's, you know, when me and Brittany, we have so many passions with this stuff, so it's hard not to jump around, but we'll have to do specific lives, you know, with each. Yes, exactly. Emery Smith, David Adair, David Icke, David Wilcox. Yes, absolutely, Rosalang. See, I like this. So this isn't something that I usually could find people who enjoy these topics and similarities as well. So I love seeing how many, yes, Queen Bee, how many people share the same passion. I thought I was the only one.
No, girl. Okay, so I have a question because it is nagging me, and I know I could look at this on Google, but I'm too lazy, I guess. But do you know the guy who he spoke out for years and he was ultimately killed? I don't know his name, but his fingers were blown off at not Area 50. Was it Mesa? In Mesa?
Oh, and the one who got stabbed across the stomach?
Yes. What is his name?
I already told you I'm really bad at names. I could find it in a second because he's spoken out and he's done presentations.
Dude is a hero for real. Yep. I'm telling you. Or he was. He passed away.
Yes, Rosaling, I tell everyone to go visit Dr. Stephen Greer's unacknowledged website, the Disclosure Project, because he has all of these elite officials, everyone who has held ranks within the government. A lot of them still even have their face blurred out. A lot of them don't, though, and they come out and they explain what position they held in the government and what their experience was, what they had to work on in regards to aliens and extraterrestrials or spacecrafts of some sort. And I don't have a link, Jesse and Melissa. If you just type in Edge of Wonder on YouTube, it should pop. They're a very big YouTube channel, so it's not like they're small. And they're like edge of wonder, wonder, wonder. Like it's really good, high quality too. King Supers. Is that it, Brittany?
No, I think no. I think that sounds like a grocery store. It's
It does. Oh wait,
not a grocery store.
is she talking to
No,
me?
I'm looking him up now.
Oh my god, is she talking to someone else or is she talking to me? Oh my god, I'm sorry.
No, I think.
Oh my god. Oh, okay.
Oh. You know who I'm talking about, though, right? It was in the Mesa.
Yes. Yes.
Underground bunker.
All of his fingers were blown off, and he was wounded in some way in the stomach, and he would show it when he'd be on stage doing these presentations.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, they have scrubbed the internet, because I used to watch this man's presentations on YouTube all the time, and I cannot find it. I cannot find
like Zachariah Stitchin, and I want to get into the law of one and everything like that. I love it's fascinating. Oh, okay. So Shelly, sorry. But yeah, it's everything is so interesting, and I love that other people are also interested in these topics. Yes, Art Bell, Taco Bell, coast to coast with Art Bell. Yeah. I love that stuff.
I'm going to find him, and then the next time you go live and you're talking about anything close to this topic, I'll bring him back up. But
Queen Bee, we said that last time. We said that we are probably another planet's monkeys, and that's why the moon, we could only ever see one side of the moon because it's in a tidal lock. So as it rotates around the earth and we rotate around the sun, it rotates in a perfect sync to where we can never see the backside. So it's theorized that the moon is actually hollowed out with technology, and it's made to monitor us. And besides all the other anomalies about the moon, how even its existence is totally impossible. But yes, there's also a major jump in our, what's it called? In our DNA, and, oh my God, why do I keep having brain farts today? Evolution. There was a major jump in evolution. So it's theorized that somebody came in and after with our DNA and basically sped it up, because from ape to human was a huge jump. And it was much faster than at any other time throughout evolution and history. So we are most likely someone else's science experiment. And don't act like that's crazy, because if we went to Mars and we found life in Mars and it was less intelligent than us, what would we do? We would take ownership of it, like we ruled over them, and we would start screwing around scientifically. We found the first life form outside of Earth, and we would start screwing with it because that's what we do.
Instantly.
Yes, Rosaling, yes. But all right, I guess I'm gonna shut it off now. We're gonna get down, but I want to thank every single person for coming here and supporting me and Brittany, and I appreciate each one of you more than you know. I look forward. Queen Bee, you got to go back to our last live. Everything you're saying is things we touched upon, but yes, you're absolutely right. We were trying to theorize how the humans could possibly build those pyramids at that time, and it's just not plausible. And so there's some kind of intervention, or they had to have some kind of access to technology, or maybe it wasn't us at all that built them. We don't know, but even the alignment themselves, how it perfectly lines up to true north and the stars at a certain angle, it's just, how would they have known that? I'd like to know how you can tell the age of a rock. You got to cut it open, Sarah, and look at the inside of it to determine it. But yes, Road, Antarctica is the key. But yes. Brittany, thank you so much for coming up on here. always. Even though you didn't have your phone, we were still managed to do it. And I love having these discussions.
Oh, you're
with
so
you.
welcome.
No, for real.
I appreciate you having me.
Always. Because, girl, you just, like I said, you guys, like, Brittany was the first one who, like, when we started talking and then we started dropping random comments in the chat and we're like, we just connected and we were like, yes, you know about that? You know about that? Like, I love it.
Yeah.
So,
I love my Melissa Jade.
I love my Brittany J. But thank you, each and every one of you. I guess we will come back if Brittany wants to come back on in like another day or two, and we'll figure out what topics we'll be doing next. I know that we are going to be discussing the Johnny Gash case because that's a case that Brittany told me about, and it's very interesting, and she's very educated on it, and it's one of those unsolved, bizarre circumstances. Something else is going on, you know?
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself. So be prepared for that one.
Yeah, but I look forward to it. Thank you to all the mods. I appreciate you so much. And just everyone individually in chat, thank you all so much. You have made this such a nice, respectful, and pleasant evening. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Namaste.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.